All right, Mr. Cal, we are live. Are you ready to kick this thing off, brother?
Man, I'm ready. I'm ready. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
KTTV, giving you what you need. Motivation, education unleashed. H-Town representing, we forever keep it rolling. Join the conversation with inspirational stories. Thought-provoking, feel that energy. Kendrick Thomas aiming to lift the community. True indeed, tune in, come and see. Giving you what you need. KTTV, let's go. Hey, KTTV. Hey.
Hey, what it do, KTTV? This is KT, and I'm coming at you live with the season finale of Education Unleashed. And on tonight's episode, I have the speaker, the mover, the shaker himself, Mr. Kyle Green.
Yeah, give me the horns, baby. Give me the horns.
Woo! Hey, look, man. Look, I'm gonna miss that for a few weeks, but I'm not gonna say I'm saying. How you doing today, brother?
Man, I am awesome. What about yourself?
Look, I won't complain. You know, we are counting down the days to that summer vacation. Usually I take an annual trip to the mountains.
Nice.
And so I booked that last night. So I know if I got that booked, then it's coming time to get ready to take that trip and get some relaxation, man. So it's
Nice.
almost there, man. I want to say thank you for taking some time out the schedule. Like we talked about earlier, man, you're in Atlanta. And so just a few days, you was probably here, right? And so then get that moving and shaking, man. So thank you for taking that time out the busy schedule to spend an hour and really give us some of the background and the work that you got going on, man. So welcome to the building, brother.
Man, appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. So what we'll do for everybody that's tuned in tonight, y'all make sure y'all stay locked. This is the season finale. But of course, we'll still go through. We'll highlight our outstanding educator. We have some good news for tonight. Well, I wouldn't say good news, but we do have some news for tonight. And then also we'll do our parent-teacher segment. So all of the pieces, one final time as we get ready to take that break. I'll try to do 12 shows and then take that break, kind of make sure I push those, promote them, and then we come back for another 12, man. So I'll see y'all after Colorado this time. God bless y'all, man. So man, I guess before we get this thing started, man, let's get into some of this news. Tonight's news, just in case y'all don't know, TIA has told everybody that the plan for them to mandate application submissions of the FAFSA remains unchanged. And so today, as you can see, courtesy of Texas Education News, TA announced that the requirement for high school seniors to complete and submit either the FAFSA or the TASFA remains unchanged. And so what they said was all students at this time should be able to do it. I want to say there was a big crash inside of the system. A lot of people couldn't get their application submitted, so they was like, let's just waive it. TA came back and said, no. So it ain't going down like that. So, and for the people that don't know about this, House Bill 3 rolled out, so they had to kind of make some waves to be able to kind of get this under submission. But in 2019, the law was passed making it a mandate for all high school students. TEA adopted it in 2021 of January. And so when that happened, the kids starting that year, if you were graduating, it is mandated through your PEMS, which is a lot of the stuff in education, how they account, the accountability parts. It is mandated that those kids submit an application, and that record is turned into the state each year. And so, look, man, I think that's a good choice, man. What do you think about that, Kyle?
I think it is. I think it is, man. It's really dope that you know what I'm saying, on your show, you actually give people like news and information that they can use, because a lot of times if somebody doesn't know, they just don't know. So for you to allow your platform to share information like that is amazing.
Most definitely, man. We like you say, it's all about that empowerment and being in the know, because a lot of the times with education, man, I think about a lot of the times our parents, like, they weren't at the school every day just fishing for this information, right? Former special ed teacher. If you don't know that OR process and you got a slacky school, you can really get caught up in the mix, right? Your kid is anywhere because you let it happen. So that's all a part of it, man. Just having everybody in the know, man. All right, so what we'll do, we'll take a quick break from the news, and then when we get back, brother, let's get into the conversation with speaker, professional speaker, Mr. Kyle. Hey, Green. All right, we'll be right back, y'all. All right, welcome back to Education Unleashed. I am here. This is KT, and I'm with Mr. Kyle Green, speaker. If y'all don't know, y'all ain't seen this brother all over the leaf. Y'all in the wrong space. So make sure that we are in the game. So, Mr. Kyle, once again, brother, thank you for coming in and sharing some of this information with us tonight, man. For the people that don't know, give us a little bit of background on you, and what led you to even get into this work of being a speaker.
So let's go back. Like let's give people the scenic route, right? Let's not take them on the interstate. Let's give them scenic route. So when I was a kid, my grandmother raised me. My grandmother was born in 1918. My grandmother had to raise all her kids, and she raised me and my sister because her baby girl, her baby child, my mom, she had an addiction problem. So my mom was on drugs my whole entire life for as long as I can remember. And I didn't learn how to read until I got into the 8th grade. And people, when I go into school, students always be like, Mr. Kyle, how is that even so? And it was because I could read small words, right? I could read and, the, but I can read the small words, but I couldn't really read the big words. And it was because I think that with my mom not being there, with my dad not being in the home. My dad's a decent man, good man, but he wasn't in the home. So I never really had anybody to hold me accountable to make sure that I understood what I was actually doing. So I struggled all throughout elementary, middle, high school. So what had ended up happening was when I got to high school, we had a speaker that was from Ridgeland. He came back and he spoke. And his name was Senator Clemente Pinckney. That name might ring a bell because Senator Pinckney was murdered in his church on June the 17th, 2015. That's when the kid walked inside of the church and killed everybody at Mother Emanuel. That was my mentor. But if we rewind before that moment, he came back and spoke. And when I was sitting in the auditorium, when I was sitting in our gym, he inspired me. And I never had anybody to inspire me like that. And I wouldn't be here had it not been for my teachers. My high school was 99.9999999% Black. I had a white teacher by the name of Miss Belinda Dickerson, who made me fall in love with writing. She made me fall in love with English. But at first, I didn't think that she liked me because every time she would hand me my paper back, it would have so many red marks. And so I remember telling my friends, man, I said, yo, this white lady don't like me. And they're like, Kyle, why you say that? I said, because she always marking up my paper. But what Miss Dickerson saw was the author that I could become someday. So when I think about educators, when I speak with teachers, I often tell them, I am the byproduct of what you're pouring and what your sacrifice looked like. I would not be who I am today had it not been for a white teacher by the name of Miss Belinda Dickerson. Now, understand this. I'm not just singling out Miss Dickerson, right? Because I had another teacher by the name of Miss Hamilton. She was a white teacher that taught me math, and I hated math. I'm still not really good at math. But what Miss Hamilton showed me was, even though I didn't understand something, if I just asked for help, she was willing to help me. So she showed me how to do PennDOS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. She sacrificed her lunch to help me. So I had all these teachers that poured into me, right? But I had Senator Pinckney, a speaker who came and spoke in the gym. And I saw something that I could become. I saw something that I wanted. And it wasn't a speaker. I just saw more. I saw something bigger. And he kind of opened my mind to that when he was speaking. And so I went throughout high school. I finished high school. I went to college. I graduated from Benedict College at HBCU in Columbia, South Carolina. BCBC, you know, we won the Division II national champions for the last 2 years in the SIAC and the SIAC. But when I was at Benedict, I had to complete at least 120 hours of community service. I had to serve my community, and I was a broke college student. but I had to serve other people. That was really important into who I would become. So we fast forward, Trayvon Martin was murdered on February the 12th, 2012. And I held a rally in Columbia, South Carolina called the 1000 Hoodie March in honor of Trayvon Martin. I held this rally. I walk around Finley Park. They said, Kyle, you got to speak. I said, I don't speak. I'm not a speaker. I was like, I got a degree in computer information science. I was working in IT. I was managing an artist. I'm like, that's what I do. They like, nah, Kyle, these people want to hear from you. This was your vision. And so like, that is how it started. The Trayvon Martin, my mentor being murdered 3 years after the Trayvon Martin murder. So I had like all of these events that happened, right? I had all of these moments that happened, and those moments turned into a Kyle Speaks movement. And so I had to take you through that scenic route to understand, like, how did I get here today? Like, I didn't just get here by happenstance. It was a journey to help me get to this part of my destination, because the journey is still going on, man. Like Nipsey Hussle said, man, it's a marathon.
Marathon continues, man.
Marathon
Most
continues.
definitely, man. Look, and I talk to kids all the time, and I tell them, that's how I got into this education, man. It's all about that it was a teacher, man. When you go through that hard life, me, mom, 15, going through just so much, like growing up together with her a few times, just being out there. And my grandmother took us in when she went away. And man, it was one teacher, third grade, Miss Baylor. Shout out to Miss Baylor, man. I'm old, so she probably gone by now. But you think she had them two rulers, rubber band together, open your hand. Yeah. But it was those pieces like that, man, of people who really took their time out, right, to just give you that love, because you probably got it at the house, but it wasn't the same. But they do.
I didn't get it at the house. I didn't get. My grandmother loved me to death. Now I will say that my grandmother, my family, they love me to death. But it's different when your parents are in the home and they model that love like to you. So that's why I really press upon teachers, like, you impact another generation when you pour into kids. You make substantial impact. My life isn't how it probably should be because teachers poured into me. And when teachers unleash that potential in students, I am the byproduct of what that looks like. That's why I go so hard in these schools. That's why I go so hard with these students. And that's why I go so hard when I speak to teachers, because your impact make a difference.
Most definitely, man. Most definitely. And so thinking about building those relationships with students, right? As you go to, so for me, my relationship at the alternative schools looks like I may have these kids for 15 to 45 days. So I really got to dig in, understand this kid to be able to kind of do my part and get them out back into their main campus with another tool that they didn't have. As you go into the building, this may be your first time going to this school. How do you approach building those authentic relationships with students to be able to impact them while you're there?
Yeah, man, that's a really good question, because a lot of people, they see what I do and they say, yo, Kyle, how do you impact kids? Like, how do you get a whole like gym where these kids go crazy? Like, are you giving them candy? Like, you got to be like, I have people be like, Kyle, you got to be giving them candy or something. And it's this, man, I go in there and I share my story. Like, my story is my biggest form of currency. Like, your story is your currency. Like, that is how I pay my way throughout the world, is by my story. And so when I go in there and I tell a student, or I tell a gym, my mom was on drugs my whole life. I hated my mom because my mom wasn't there. My mom never showed up to any of my football games, basketball games. When I was on the AB honor roll, when I got into high school, my mom never came to anything, like anything. In elementary school, I would have classmates, and when it would be their birthday, their mom would bring them cupcakes and everybody in the class was saying happy birthday. I never experienced that. So when I'm telling students that, they listen and they like, man, I'm going through that. And then I say, my dad was a decent man, but my father wasn't in the home. So my dad, like, we never, after school went and catch like passes or anything. I would see my dad during the summer, but he wasn't in the home. Like, I didn't learn how to read until 8th grade. And then I'll be like, I didn't learn how to read to 8th grade, but I'm an Amazon best-selling author. So I give students hope. I give hope to the hopeless. I give a voice to the voiceless. I tell students, I had a daughter when I was 16 in the 10th grade, and I thought I made the biggest mistake. But just because you might make a mistake in your life, it doesn't mean that you're a mistake. And just because you might fail at something doesn't mean that you're a failure. Like, what's important about making mistakes and failing is how you get yourself up, how you brush your shoulders off, and how you live to fight another day. And I tell students, if you don't take nothing else from this message, I want you to take this away. I want you to fight for your dreams so that one day they can become a reality. I want you to stand for something and not just fall for anything. Like, so when I'm done and students have heard my story, they like, Mr. Kyle, man, I'm going through the same thing. So my story connects to what they're going through. And because I made it, I give them hope that they can make it. Oftentimes, students just need a glimmer of hope. And we have to give students hope that their tomorrow will be better than their today.
Yeah, man. That's I remember just sitting down next to some of my kids because before I was an assistant principal, I did behavior inside of a behavior unit. Like so everybody here is kind of emotionally disturbed. They have their own things going in. And so to be able to sit down next to that kid and say, I'm crying because my daddy didn't call or I haven't talked to him. And I say, well, just think about this. I've never even like seen my dad or anything of that nature. And so then we have that conversation. And so that kid, I'll say, well, look, even though that doesn't happen, you can still do this. You can still be this. And so that's how we do it, man. So I agree, man. The story is that currency. So when you're going through, man, and you talking to these kids, let's say you projecting, what lessons do you believe students can learn from facing challenges, and how do you kind of get that? It like, do they ever reach out to you after and say, hey, man, I found you on social media, know these kids, and then what does that conversation look like? How do you support after?
I tell principals, superintendents all the time, I might leave your building physically, but I never leave your students. Like, I never leave your kids. I have so many kids from A-Leaf ISD who message me every single day, who message me once a week, who message me once a month. And it's not just A-Leaf ISD. It's Richland 1 in Columbia, South Carolina. It's Richland 2. It's Franklin County Schools in Franklin, Tennessee. Like, it's schools that I speak to in Newark, New Jersey. Like, schools that I speak to in Atlanta, Booker T. Washington. Like, I have kids message me all day, every single day, and they tell me what's going on in their life. So when I go to a school, my first message is always the purpose message. I want students to understand that their life has a purpose, because statistics show, research shows, if you can get students to understand that their life has a purpose, it'll help them have a sense of who I am. A lot of times students act crazy or they act out because they don't really know who they are. They have really no value system. So I immediately inject purpose. Your life has a purpose. I give them a sense of identity. I give them some self-worth. I give them some self-esteem. And purpose like helps students realize that they're not just here by happenstance. You are here for a reason. Sometimes I say the only reason why I'm able to talk on my iPhone was who had to be born. And they'll say, you know, they might not know it. Some might say Steve Jobs. I say, in order for me to write my book, I had to write it in Microsoft Word. Who had to be born? Like Bill Gates. In order for me to put my book on Amazon, who had to be like born? Jeff Bezos. Like, I get them. In order for me to go to the movie theater and fall in love with this big black grandma that told a pistol in her purse to talk trash, but give you this amazing like life lesson at the end, who had to be born? Tyler Perry. Like, I give them the hope. Like, I give them a vision of who they are and who they can become, because sometimes they don't really know who they are. And so teachers teaching to a kid who don't even know really who they are. They don't even really care. So how can you teach a kid who don't even care about life? So I go in, I talk about purpose. I go back in again, I talk about overcoming adversity when life get hard, because I want you to know that your life has a purpose. But then when I go back, I need to tell you adversity is going to happen. Like, how do you handle adversity when it happens in your life? So then that's when the kids message me on Instagram. Mr. Kyle, man, I'm going through this. Mr. Kyle, man, my dad pulled a gun out on my mom. Mr. Kyle, man, my mom hasn't been home for the last 3 days, and I'm having to take care of my siblings. Like, I experienced all of that. And so I give kids like ways to deal with it. If I have to talk to a school administrator to help find them some support, I do that. So I might leave a school physically, but I'm still present in those students' lives. I'm like no other speaker, and I'm not saying that to knock any other speaker, but like I follow every kid back. I comment back to every single message. When I see their stories, I like their pictures. If they smoking a blunt, I swipe up. Yo, why are you smoking a blunt? Oh, Mr. Kyle, man, that's an old picture. I'm sorry. Nah. You either gonna take that down, I'm not gonna follow you.
Yeah.
Like I keep it all the way 100 with these kids.
Yeah. You have to, man. You have to. And the biggest piece is being able to catch them on their social media, because 9 out of 10, once they out of school, that's where they at, right? I think about so much stuff that go on Instagram, and it folds over to the school, but it all happened like online. So man, being able to do that so powerful, so powerful and impactful, to be able to meet students where they are. Now, I know another part of the business is also teacher support and training. So what we'll do, let's take a quick break. And then when we come back, I want to kind of talk about how we help, because we just talked really about how you authenticate and build those relationships. But now let's talk about how you help these teachers. So we'll be right back.
You see the drip, yeah, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up. You see the drip, yeah, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the
All right, y'all. Welcome back to Education Unleashed. This is the season finale.
Yeah, finale, baby.
I wonder if my name was about to kick me out. But look, man, we are here, brother. I want to say thank you, man, for taking some time out. Drop so much knowledge on us. Like I say, just talking about how we support those kids, the speaking that goes into it, because it's one thing to come to that school, but if you can get them to follow you when you leave, that's when the real work begins, because now it's personal, right? So the minute it became personal, I'm taking down that picture, because now Mr. Kyle follow me. I don't want to lose it, but look at that impact, man. So the biggest piece is being one man, right? And so understanding that you're working with that team of teachers who are going to see them every day, but maybe not be able to foster their relationship, right? I wrote my book. Hold up, shameless plug. Y'all make sure if y'all have one.
Yeah.
Go to KTTV.com. Pilson's leaves my word. So, but this book came from school, 98% other than African American, population, 76% African American. Big gap, right? That we created of sympathy instead of empathy. I had to go back, rework that, because I felt them like, well, if you just put your head down and be quiet, you won't have to go to the office. Or it says a pencil is the least of my words, because as I did my internship year, it was so many people that was coming in who was sent to the office and wrote up because they didn't have a pencil, they didn't have supplies. But that's because this teacher doesn't understand. I'm not worried about a pencil. I ain't ate since I left here. What can you do for me besides drop the bar? So that's what it's about. So when you think about the importance of the work that you do, coming into the school, motivating the kids, but it don't stop there. And that teacher training is a part of it, man. So how do you support and train educators to foster authentic relationships with their students?
So for one, when I go into a school, I like to do like a school-wide assembly, right? And then I like for the teachers to see how the students react and respond to me. Because before I would go speak at a school, and it would just be the students, and then that's it. I had one superintendent. He called me afterwards. He said, "I've never had so many parents call me back thanking me for having a speaker at our school." He said, "You had our kids in 60 minutes. You had our kids in 60 minutes. 60 minutes. You were able to get an entire school body of students to do what you asked them to do, to listen to what you were saying." I challenge students, go home, give your mom a hug, tell her you thank her, tell her you love her for all the sacrifices that she made. If your dad is home, I need you to go home, tell him you love him, you thank him for all the sacrifices you make. So these parents started calling the superintendent, and he said, "I need for you to come talk to my teachers. I need for you to share how you were able to connect to our students in such a way in 60 minutes when our teachers have them all year and sometimes don't make that connection." Yes, and so when I go to schools, I talk about, intentional relationships. Like, you have to be intentional in making relationships. And I equate it, and I use the analogy when you dating somebody, the same way that you get to know your significant other, the same way that you share stories, the same way that you talk about the things that make you happy, the things that make you sad, the same way, like, you are intentional in how you put your best foot forward. That intentionality has to happen with your students. Now, again, you don't have to go as deep in creating those type of relationships, but you have to be able to form some type of relationship with your students that builds some type of bridge from your heart to theirs, because I am really big on the heart work, not the hard work, the heart work. Because if I can create the heart work, the hard work then becomes easy. What happens is teachers don't form any type of relationships with students, but then you want students to be able to do what you ask them to do, especially when it's hard. And if you don't create that type of intentional relationship, if you don't create it with your significant other, it's going to fail. If you don't create it with your students, it's going to fail. It's that same process. So the first thing I do is I share with them, be willing to be vulnerable. Be willing to share a certain part of your story. You don't have to share your entire story like I do, but certain parts of your story allows you to form some type of relationship with that student. For an example, the first week of school, who's really doing work? We just trying to learn where we going to class at. We trying to learn the schedule. We trying to learn, like, give out the syllabus. Like, so if I put on a sheet of paper, write down 3 things that's really important to you. Write down what are your ultimate goals. So if a student says, my dad is in the Army, and I just love when he come home, when he is deployed. In 4 weeks, how's your dad doing? Man, I love your dad serve our country, man. That means so much to us. It give us our freedoms. When you see your dad, tell him thank you. Do you know what that's gonna do to a kid? That you remembered that you took the time to even address. Like, so I am really big on being intentional in how you make relationships with students, because what I do is when I build those relationships, when I have to show tough love, when I have to hold them accountable, when I have to say, why do you have that blunt in your story? I need for you to take that down. I'm not following you. Because I was intentional in building that relationship, I can then show tough love because I've built so much good equity in the students. Teachers not building any equity in their students, and they asking them to do stuff for them when they haven't even took time to really build any equity. And the thing about equity is this, especially when you build in your home, when you want to do house repairs, when you want to send your kids off to school, you can then borrow a loan against your home because you built up some equity. So now you can take something out. But the only reason why you can take something out is because you put so much in. The only reason why I can hold kids accountable and show tough love is because I put so much in them. I put so much in them. I showed them. So I ask teachers, what are you putting in? Because when you have to hold them accountable, imagine being hard on a kid. Imagine holding them accountable. Imagine telling them you have to give them an F. Imagine how that feels to them when you've never put anything in their life. So I'm really big on those intentional relationships. Then that builds connections. Then that builds bridges. And then if you can do that, man, these kids will do anything for you. These kids, I have students all over the country who will run through a brick wall for me. And they do it because they know that I'll do that for them.
Yeah, and that's what it is, man. Meaningful relationships, meaningful work, right? That's what we talk about in that leaf, right? It's really hard to get one without the other. And I speak that from personal experience being at the alternative school, man. You know, it may get real, right? But the thing is, once kids come in from day one, I'm building, right? I'm depositing. So then when it's time to withdraw, because we know there will be time when it's time to withdraw, I really have a good leg to stand on because I've been depositing so much, man. But the times that it's not that, like you say, it gets very crucial, very volatile in that classroom. And so that's a little bit what my training is about, man. Just how do we make those deposits? Because if you don't, yeah. And so when you go out, how do you see the role of the educator evolving when you think about fostering those student connections, man? Or do you feel like you're reaching the teachers when you go back to that school, it is a better climate, or do you feel like the work is just beginning?
No. So I see some A-Leaf principals that's online, man. Shout out to Dr. Kerr. Shout out to Dr. Brotherton. Matter of fact, Dr. B.
Hey.
So when we talk about relationships, right? So I connected with Dr. B through LinkedIn. I was like, yo, man, I do X, Y, and Z. I would love to work with you. And she said, all right, cool. So if you know anything about Dr. Brotherton, how you do one thing is how you do everything. Like that's her motto. She preached that. She sang that.
Dr. B. Yeah.
From the pulpit. And so she wasn't just gonna bring me in and kind of just work with her school at first, right? So I say, yo, let me work with you. Let me like this is what I do, X, Y, and Z. So kind of work with her. She brought me in, spoke with her school. She then introduced me to other principals like Crutchfield over at Hollop. Shout out to Crutchfield.
Crutch.
Shout out to Dr. Kerr at SOAR. Shout out to Dr. Principal Duncan at Kilo. Shout out to Kilo. I always say I be saying it wrong. Shout out to Sana at the 9th grade center. Shout out to Principal Elsie at Elsick High School. So I've been working with all of them, right? Yeah. And it was all formed on a relationship. So now when I go into schools and I talk about relationships first and making those connections, then when I go back, because that's really important. Like you have to get that. When I go back, then I talk about like school culture and climate. Like what does a good school culture and climate look like? And I think that is formed when students and teachers like each other. If students and teachers don't like each other, you're not going to have this, right? You're going to have button at the heads. Like kids that don't like teachers, those schools have the worst culture, have the worst climate because nobody cares. Teachers unhappy, students unhappy. So I am really big on creating a culture and a climate where students and teachers like each other. And then I kind of talk about like, what does that look like? So I went into all of these schools before the school started and kind of like laid the foundation for what the culture should look like. How do we adjust the climate when it's off? What does that look like? And so I can honestly say from when I first went to the school, when the school started, and all of those schools, and the only one that I didn't go to was Hollop, but all of the culture and the climate feels so different now when I walk inside those schools. Now, A-Leaf Early College High School, like their culture was already on something different. Dr. B, she just already on something different. But to go and work with those other schools and those other teachers, and when I go back and I tell them how to be intentional, I tell them you don't have to go to every single football game or basketball game. Maybe just show up to one. Because imagine a kid looking in the stands, knowing that their English teacher or their science teacher in the stands cheering for them. Do you know what that does for a kid? Because most times your student athletes are the ambassadors of your school. They are the face of your school. The students going to follow what your football and basketball players do. They set the tone. So if you show up for them, they're going to show up for you. Because if you have a student that's being disrespectful and that student and your football player, your basketball player saw you at a game, they're going to tell that student, yo, chill out. Like, don't disrespect Miss Johnson. Like, don't disrespect Mr. Green, because they know how you showed up for them. So they want to feel like they can show up for you. And when you can get students to help like run your school, and I don't mean having students run the school, right? But I mean having students set the tone, that creates a culture that you can almost be proud of, because now your students want to be there and they want to show up for you. So I think when I think about educators and I think about the role that they play for students and how they impact student success, I think when you create a culture that feels inclusive, a culture where students feel cared, that's student-centered, where it has a growth mindset, where emotional intelligence is practiced amongst the staff and the students, like I think it builds something that's really beautiful. And it's not a whole lot of schools that have it across the country, but the schools that do have it, student success soars.
Yeah, student success soars, man. People don't work for people they don't like. All right. Shout out to Rita Pearson. That is one of the biggest things. So let's go through some of the comments here. So Crutchfield, she said, hey y'all. All right. Brandon says the SWAT is in the building, most definitely. Dr. Kerr said hard work. So following up on that. Let me see here what we got. So Dr. Brother said it gets real in those staff meetings. Last time he was at AECHS, the whole room was in tears. Honesty, trust, love, and accountability. Build it, write our own narrative. Every day. If you poll anybody at ALC, I tell them control your narrative, right? And so making sure. She also said people been telling them their whole life that they're going to show up and don't. So when you do it, it's impactful, builds trust, big trust. Hey, and that's what it's about. Being able to stand on business. All right, man. So as we get out of here, man, for our interview section of it, when you sum this all up, man, what do you hope to achieve through your work in student empowerment and teacher training?
I ultimately, so my whole like mission is to like impact the next generation. Like I really like believe in the bottom of my heart, like I am going to impact the generation behind me, and the generation behind that. Because if we can, if I can do my part in doing that, right? So I go into A-Leaf ISD, I throw a small pebble. You throw a pebble, Dr. B throw a pebble, Dr. Kerr, Crutchfield, Duncan, everybody throw these pebbles in this pond. And the thing about a pebble or a rock when you throw it into a pond is it creates this ripple effect. And so if I can throw my pebble, and then I can then go to Columbia, South Carolina, throw a pebble. If I can go to Newark, New Jersey, where I speak, Wayne, New Jersey, throw a pebble. If I can go into Atlanta, Georgia, Atlanta Public Schools, throw a pebble. Like if I can create this big old ripple effect, right? Hopefully one day it can create a tsunami that can just make students believe in something bigger than themselves. What Brandy was saying, when people been telling them they was going to show up and never show up. When I go to Kilo, I always say it wrong. Kilo, I be saying it wrong all the time. But when I go into the schools, right, and a student messaged me and say, man, Mr. Kyle, we got a football game. So when I go to speak at the school. Like I don't get paid to go to football games. I don't get paid to go to basketball games. I don't get paid to go to any of these extracurricular activities, field day. I go because I know what it means to them to see me showing up. And so if I can show teachers how to show up for their students, and then they say, man, if this man coming all the way from Atlanta, Georgia, and he at these football games, he had these basketball games, if he did it, man, the least that I can do is show up. And so if I can challenge them to show up, if I can challenge the students to do their part, then if we can all work together, man, we can all move forward to a much bigger goal. And that's for us to change the dynamics, change the trajectory of our family life. Like that's what I'm after. If I can get a student to believe in something bigger than themselves, if I can get teachers to pour the very best of themselves out into students, we can impact the next generation. And I want to close with this. When I go into schools, especially at A-Leaf, right, I always give students these ponds. And I tell them about the power of a pond. And I say the thing about a pond is this, man, all a pond can do is move one step ahead. That's why everybody say, man, what are you giving out? Candy? I give out ponds. But I empower this pond in such a way these students see this pond and they see themselves. They see the commitment that we make with each other. And I say all a pond can do is move one step ahead. When it starts out, it can move 2 steps, but all it can do is move one step ahead. But what's so iconic and what's so ironic about a hopeless, insignificant, powerless pawn, because that's what it's seen as. All a pawn is worth is 1 point in a game of chess. That's it, 1 point. You get 1 point for a pawn. The most powerful piece on the board is a queen, because a queen can move any place. The most important piece on the chessboard is a king, because if a king is captured, checkmate, game over. You have the rook, the knight, and the bishop, and they can all move in their own respective ways. But to me, man, I always saw myself as being a pawn. And all I did was move forward. I kept moving forward. And then one day I made it to the other side of the opponent's board. And pawns goes up for something called promotion. So that means this hopeless, insignificant, powerless piece can one day become any other piece on the board. But if you can become any other piece on the board, why not become a queen, the most powerful piece on the board? And so I tell students, all I need for you to do is take 1 step ahead. 1 step ahead closer to your dreams. 1 step ahead closer to your goals. 1 step ahead of believing in something bigger than yourself. And then when you make it to the other side and they ask you what you want to be, tell them promote you to a queen, one of the most powerful pieces on the board. Because when you become a queen, you change the trajectory of your family. When you become something that's bigger than yourself, you change generational curses. And I get students to believe that. And I give them a pawn. And this pond does wonders for students because when they see it, they think about the message. They remember that their life has purpose. They remember that their dreams can one day become a reality. They believe that one day they can change the world if only they believe. And so that's what I want to do. That's what I'm doing. I'm getting students to believe that they can change the world because they can, because I did it. And I came from nothing. My mom was on crack. My dad went in the home. I couldn't even read, man. I cried every night because my mom wasn't there. My dad wasn't there. Like, I came from nothing. I grew up down a 2-mile dirt road in a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 10-roof home that had nothing but roaches in it. Like, my grandmother was on a fixed income. Like, I remember my grandmother crying when she would have to send me on a field trip, and she knew she didn't have money. But when I would wake up the next day, it would be like $51 bills on the counter because she went to her friend, our cousin, T, who had a store in her house, and she would ask her for money to send me on a field trip. I saw my grandmother do so much with so little to give me this opportunity today. And so I can't not help the next generation. I can't help support and pour into these students because I know what I came from. And it wasn't much. But if I did it, I can only imagine what they can do. So I just give them that hope, man.
Most definitely, brother. That is. Like you say, it was that one person, right? That sparked that in you. And then the trajectory changed from there. Great story, awesome information. Let's get into some of these. Crutchfield said exactly. They can see no matter what it looks like, I can count on someone from my school. That kind of takes us back to the beginning of what we talked about when we talked about those teachers who saw something different and sacrificed, whether it was lunch or whether it was going to the store on the weekend, making sure that I had shoes when we got back on Monday, whatever that was. What she says, hashtag move forward. And Dr. B says she agreed. Most definitely, man. All right, what we'll do now, we're going to take a quick break, get right back here, and we're going to jump into some rapid fire, man. So I got 10 quick questions. Don't think about it. Just react to it. All right, we'll be right back, y'all. Rapid fire, let's go.
Go hard, or go home, go home, go hard, or go home.
All right, on this one here, Mr. Green, this is what I want you to do, man. I want you to answer these questions. Don't think about it. Just react to it. I know when I'm in that lifting weights, my boy say it's 350 pounds, but don't think about it. Just react to it. What you gonna do when it hit your chest? Push it. All right, so here we go, man. What's your favorite pizza topping?
My favorite pizza topping?
Yeah.
Ham and mushroom.
See, think about it. Man, that's real right there, bro. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
The ability to see into the future.
Man, that would be so powerful. Beach vacation or mountain getaway?
Definitely the beach. I grew up in the low country. I love the water.
Come on, man. Dogs or cats?
Dogs. Big dogs at that. I don't like little, small, annoying dogs.
Hey, little dog complex. Hey, early bird or night owl?
Night owl. I write and think the most late at night.
What's your go-to karaoke song?
I don't know.
Got it. Hey, there we go, man.
I would have had to think about that one.
Hey, all right, I'm gonna hit you with this one. Favorite movie of all time?
Glory.
God, that's a good
with
one,
Denzel
man.
Washington.
Would you rather have the ability to fly or be invisible?
Be invisible.
Yeah, I need to know what's going on.
Right.
If you could meet any historical figure, who would it be?
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Come on, man. Dr. Martin Luther King. What's your guilty pleasure snack?
Chocolate chip cookies with a glass of chocolate milk.
Man, you know, us over here with lactose and time, we can't. But I'm with you, brother. Hey, look, man, I'm gonna just get the cookies. Give me some juice. Look, all right, man. So I'm gonna give you one chance before we get out of here. Did you think about the karaoke song? What's your go-to, man?
Karaoke. So it would have to be a Nipsey Hussle. Hustle and motivate.
Oh man, that's a good one right there, Hustle and motivate. Come on, brother. Look, man, the page don't change. We're just gonna keep it the same, keep the work going, and let everybody know. Awesome work, man. Like I said, the reason I like to do that is ever since, man, I was in Walmart and the kid said, "Man, you shop at Walmart?" I immediately seen that he saw me as an educator, but not a human. Right. And so as we go through and we talk about so much of this work and we talk about the motivation and what we're doing with these students, I still like to bring it back to let me show you I'm still a person, right? I still eat chocolate chips, chocolate milk. I still like big dogs, all that kind of stuff, man. So big shouts out to you, man, for taking some time out to do that. What we'll do, y'all, we'll come back and get into our educator spotlight. Let's do it.
You see the drip, yeah, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drip, yeah, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the
All right, y'all, welcome back to Education Unleashed. Tonight's Outstanding Educator Spotlight goes to Miss Jacqueline Cooper. She is a University of Houston professor of English. I was a high school English teacher, so big shouts out to Jacqueline. I bet the papers that she has to read is way more long. Andreas Jones was the person who shouted out Miss Cooper. And this is one that means a lot because this is her husband, right? So you think about when you're getting off, you got those stories to tell. So big shouts out to Andreas for the support. And his message was she is very thorough and supportive of her students. She will work with students even after class is over. She is dedicated to teaching and making students better. And so his personal message said that Jacqueline inspires me to look for the positive in people. And I envy the job she does and all the work she has done to become a great college professor. So big shout out to Jacqueline Cooper. Man, I tell you, when I started doing the Outstanding Educator Spotlight, it really opened up because at first we did a lot of people inside of A-Leaf. But then as I pushed it out, we started getting people like at U of H. We started getting people at other schools all over the district, man. And so when people celebrate each other, the love that we show, and then I get to share it, and so many times it's been shared out because we doing a lot of hard work in this game, day in and day out, that deposit. And so a lot of times we forget to deposit into each other, right? Because we're so focused and student centered. So that was just one way of shouting out to everybody, man. So what we'll do, we're going to take another quick break. And when we come back, we have the Parent Teacher Corner. Then, bro, it is no way we're going to get this season finale over with without you giving us some good words on our way out of this thing, man. So we'll be right back, Parent Teacher.
You see the drip, yeah, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drip, yeah, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the
All right, man. I wanted to pick for this night's Parent Teacher Corner. I wanted to pick something that was very in our ballpark. And so tonight we're diving into the important topic of building resilience in our students, right? So in today's fast-paced and ever-changing world, resilience is critical. It's a critical skill that students can have to help them navigate challenges, setbacks, and adversity with confidence and determination. And as parents and educators, we play a vital role in fostering resilience in our children and the students. So by providing them the tools with the support and the encouragement, we help them develop that resilience that they need to thrive academically, socially, and emotionally. And so what I want to do tonight, man, and if you have anything, because I know we talked about a few of these, please jump in, don't hesitate. So the first strategy that I want everybody to consider is encouraging a growth mindset to build resilience in that student. So teach those students that challenges and failures are opportunities for growth and learning. Help them see the setbacks as temporary and opportunities to try again. Number two, model resilience. So as adults, we can model resilience by demonstrating perseverance, optimism, and problem-solving skills in our own lives. A biggest thing for educators, parents alike, our actions speak louder than our words. So we must lead by example. Number three, fostering a supportive environment. So create a safe and supportive environment where students feel comfortable expressing their thoughts, their feelings, and their concerns. Encourage them to open that communication and have empathy among their peers. Number four, celebrate their successes. So acknowledge and celebrate students' achievements, no matter how big or small. Very powerful. Recognizing their efforts and progress can boost their confidence and their motivation. And lastly, provide coping strategies. So teach students healthy coping strategies to manage stress, anxiety, and other challenges. This could include deep breathing, exercises, mindfulness techniques, and seeking support from trusted adults. Going back to what Crutch said, it's all about knowing whether I'm at the house or at school, there's somebody who's going to stand in that gap for me. And so by implementing these strategies, I believe we can empower our students to bounce back from those setbacks, overcome those obstacles, and reach their full potential. Man, so as we get ready to wrap that segment up, brother, do you have anything to add to that?
Man, I don't nothing really to add to that, because when you do all of those things, you then advocate for your child. And as parents, man, one of the most important things that you can ever do is positively advocate for your child. And that's showing up for them when they need you to show up, not just when you want to show up, but make what's important to them, make that important to you too.
Man, most definitely. So good. So man, I want to say again, thank you, man, as we get ready to wrap this up. Big shouts out to Jacqueline Cooper, our outstanding educator. Brother Kyle A. Green, man, tell us first off, give us some final words to take us out this thing. And then, man, tell us how we can find you for people that want to get you to their school. Give us all the information, and in either order you want to take those, man.
All right. So just so I'll make sure I don't forget. So you can shoot me an email. It's Kyle, Kyle, at Kyle, A as in awesome, green with the E at the end.com. I'm on Instagram, Kyle Speaks _ Twitter, Kyle Speaks, Facebook, Kyle A. Green. But I want to say this. So the analogies that I did with the pond, right? That's just not for students. That's for us as adults too. All we got to keep doing is moving ahead. But another thing that I do when I go into schools, and even when I speak with educators, is I give out glow sticks. And I say the thing with glow sticks is this, and I use it different when I talk to students versus when I talk to adults. But it's all tied in together. So glow sticks were created in 1961 by a scientist. His name was Dr. Edwin Chandras. And he created glow sticks because he was fascinated by fireflies. He couldn't understand how fireflies could give off a natural light without an external power source. So if you think about it, you've never seen a firefly with an extension cord plugged into an outlet. You've never seen a firefly with a Duracell battery on its back, but they light up. And so he went into a lab, and then one day he found the 3 chemicals needed for glow sticks to operate, right? One chemical is called oxalate ester. The second one is called fluorescent dye. The third one, when you hear the breaking sound, that's a glass veil, that's hydrogen peroxide. When those 3 chemicals are broken and mixed together, it causes a chemical reaction. So everything that this glow stick needs to operate in the purpose in which it was created is found on the inside. This glow stick needs nothing else to operate in the purpose in which it was created. When you think about your life, when you think about the students that you serve, everything that your student needs to operate in their purpose-driven life is already found on the inside. Some of those students might have to break open what they already have inside of them. Michael Jordan, Taylor Swift, LeBron James, Tom Brady, like they didn't go to Target to buy their gifts. Everything was already on the inside. Everything that you need to operate as an educator is already on the inside of you. Everything that you need to operate as a parent is already on the inside of you. Everything that you need to operate as an administrator is already on the inside of you, just like this glow stick. But some of you might be afraid to be broken. The crazy thing about this is this glow stick will only serve the purpose in which it was created when it's broken. So as I break this glow stick, and now this glow stick begins to serve the purpose in which it was created, which is the shine, which is the glow. In a world that's filled with so much darkness, your light, it can make a difference. In a world that's filled with so much hate, your love, it can make a difference. In a world that's filled with so much war, your peace, it can make a difference. In a world with so much hopelessness, your hope, it can make a difference. In a world where students feel like they don't have a voice, your voice, it can make a difference. But it doesn't happen until you first broken. So I challenge you on today, man. I challenge to anybody that's listening. I challenge you, just like this glow stick, break open what you already have on the inside so the light that you have can shine bright for others. I love y'all, man. Thank you for having me. A-Leaf, SWAT, baby.
SWAT in the building. Look, man. Big shouts out to Kyle A. Green, man. Y'all make sure y'all go to the website. Follow all the information. Brother, I want to say thank you again for taking some time out of this evening. So many good jewels dropped. And so the biggest piece is always we got people to catch it live, but that playback, right? That playback in those clips and those 60-second feeds to get them there to be able to kind of catch this, man. So I want to say thank you, man, for just inspiring us, pushing us. Look, if you ain't ready for them last 30 days after today, I don't know what you're doing out here in these streets of the A-Leaf, man. So big thank you, man. And anytime that you got something going, man, please come on back, share it with the family. Anytime that you're in the Leaf, please make sure to stop by so that we can have these conversations, man, and move the needle because it's very important. So look at it. Let's see. Here we go. Dr. Kerr, she said she loved the glow stick. SWAT, baby. Hey, and she say, thanks, kid. I love you too, Dr. Kerr. I sure appreciate it. I remember when I got my proclamation, Dr. Kerr called me up in front of all the administrators and hit me with the embarrassment. Yeah, that was her, man. I was like, come on, man. All right. Hey, thank you, Dr. B, and congratulations again. All right, y'all, that will do it for the season finale. I will see y'all again in June. We're going to take a few weeks off. We're going to get this life going, close this school year out. And then we'll be back in the game. Here we go. Crutchfield say she enjoyed it. I want to say thank you. Make sure we'll be back. All right, brother. We about to get out of here. Thank you again for the work you do. This is KT for KTTV signing out for the season finale. 100.
This is Darnell with Broadcast Houston.
This is Dr. Tamara Beckford.
Hey, this is Candace.
This is London Underwood.
This is Kirsten Bass with Inner City Greens, and you're watching.
Y'all are now tuned in to
KTTV.
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 KTTV. Is that right?